Alright, so in this video I am going to show you how to work on the tipple pattern. So the tipple pattern is made with circles and the circles are drawn behind each other. So they could be in large sizes and small sizes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose what one of the sections left in my Zentangle tile that I want to work on the tipple with. And I'm going to get started in mechanical pencil, and I'm still going to just keep using the Sharpie marker, and I don't know if I want to use pen or color, but I feel like this pattern is starting to kind of look just really basic and I'm thinking it needs some color. Maybe I'll add color at the end, but let's get started with drawing this tipple dotted circle pattern. So to get started, you're going to decide, do you want to start with large or small or medium or a variety of different circles? So I like to go for a variety of sizes of different circles, so I'm going to start planning in pencil. The circles don't need to be perfect. But I still like to hold the pencil like this sometimes because I feel like it gives me more control and less pressure. So I'm drawing just some circles, filling up the Zentangle, and if you really want to kind of make it feel like there's an illusion of this border being a frame, you can make it like the circle is coming out of the frame. So as I'm working around, I'm trying to create a variety of sizes, large and small, medium, like this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put down pencil and I'm going to pick up Sharpie marker, and I'm going to trace the circles that I've drawn. So notice so far that like none of these circles are touching, none of these circles are overlapping. So I am going to start with tracing my circles as best as I can. Sometimes my marker's a little wiggly. Okay, so now that I've traced my first set of circles, I'm going to put the cap on my marker. I'm going to pick back up my mechanical pencil, and I'm going to start adding more circles, and I'm going to add some circles going around, and I'm going to add some circles going behind. So if you look at the two Zentangles that I've already created, the small and the original size, the bijou, that some of them are filled in, some of them are going around nice and close, and some of them kind of look like they're going behind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start planning out some circles that are going around, and then I'm going to start to layer them going behind. So I'm going to start with the ones that look like they're touching each other first. So on some of these larger ones, it's kind of like a flowered shape. I'm going to just go around I don't want to draw too small because I know that I'm going to trace over this with Sharpie marker. Where do I want to go next? The goal of Tipple is to fill the entire space up with different circles, so I'm going to just rotate my paper. I'm going to try and fill in the gaps. And right now I'm drawing circles that are all the same size, but I think I'm going to change that in just a moment. I want to try and make it seem like this size circle is kind of all throughout, so I think I'm going to add circles that are about the same size. Try and evenly space them around this section of the string in my Zentangle. Okay, so now that I've drawn some of these circles, I'm going to put the pencil down and I'm going to pick up my Sharpie marker and I'm going to just trace over them super gently, nice and light, not too much pressure, being kind to my marker, being gentle to my hand. I'm listening to the breeze that I hear outside of the window and the birds, and I'm just enjoying today's chance to make art, to be creative. I'm going to let my dog outside, and then I'm going to come right back and pick up my marker. So I took a quick break to let my dog outside. My dog actually rings a bell that's hanging by the door to let me know that she needs to go outside. Because I'm working on my drawing and everything's really nice and quiet, I was able to hear the bell right away. Okay. Okay, so now I've traced all of the pencil. I'm going to put the cap on my marker, and now I'm going to start drawing circles that go behind what I've drawn so far. So I'm going to create some depth. I'm going to create some layering effect where it looks like these are coming towards you and that there are some things further away. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I am going to draw kind of these crescent shapes where some of these will overlap. And I'm going to use my imagination to draw behind. And I'm just going to spread them out. So I'm using my imagination to help fill in the space, to make it seem like there is some layering going on. after I've drawn a few, I'm going to switch over to the marker again and I'm going to trace them. So the reason that I'm going back and forth between drawing and tracing is so that I don't get overwhelmed with the tracing. I like to be able to take a break and go back and forth in between the steps. So as I'm building up the layers, I have less and less space to work. And I like to create variations on the patterns that I learned how to do. So what I think I'm actually going to do next is choose some of these circles from the Tipple to either be filled in black or to be shaded with pencil. So as I'm looking at the drawing, I notice that some of it is really standing out, some of it's kind of falling behind. So what I think I might actually want to do is, I might want to draw another layer of the dots with the pencil, to draw the circles with the pencil, and then I think I might want to do this shading effect again. Or maybe I'll just shade it in all black. So I am going to just start by adding in a little bit more of these curving shapes to make it seem like there are these circles going behind each other, and some of them are large and some of them are small. I'll switch back over. All right, so now that I've created, oh, this line's not touching there. Let's fix that. There we go. Okay, so now that I've added a lot more of these circles and they've kind of filled up the space, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start with pencil, and I think I'm going to use this kind of a shading effect where the areas that I didn't draw circles, I'm going to shade. So I'm actually, one thing I didn't do is I didn't outline the border of my strings. So I'm going to close off my border. Because that would help me decide where I need to shade. Okay, border's closed. I'm going to do a little bit of erasing just to neaten up my line work. And that way I don't get confused while I'm trying to decide where to shade. Okay. All right, so I'm going to work with the pencil and I'm going to decide the areas where I'm going to hold the pencil like this again. I'm going to decide the areas where there are no Tipple little circles, no little shapes. I'm actually going to just shade them in. So a true Tipple pattern, the entire space would be filled with circles, large and small, all touching, all of the edges filled in. But because I like to make a variation on my pattern, I'm going to do some shading. I like shading. One of the things that I really do like about Zentangle is that it encourages you to explore value in a way that you might not normally explore it. So there is pure white, there is usually some gray tone, and then there is also, you know, the chance to use color. there's the chance to create value with stippling. There's a chance to create value with pencil shading. So I am going to gently shade. And when I'm shading now, because I know that I'm not going to be able to really use my finger to blend this, I'm doing like a small circle pattern, like a circular motion. So I might be doing lines in one direction and then lines in another direction, or I might be trying to move my pencil in a circular pattern because I don't want to see a hard edge. I don't want to see lines in my shading. I want my shading to look like one even tone. So there's a couple of ways that you can make even value, even tone when you're shading. So you might want to explore on a piece of scrap paper with whatever kind of pencil you're choosing to use, whether you're best able to create that blended, smooth effect from shading in a direction, doing hatching and cross hatching, so doing lines in one direction and then doing lines in another direction, or whether you're better off at shading using a circular pattern. So I kind of like to go back and forth between both of them. I don't think one way is better than the other. Some people might have a preference, but I kind of like using a combination of both of them. So I might be turning the paper while I'm shading, especially depending on the shape that you're shading. So sometimes I feel like if you're shading along a smooth straight edge, it might be easier to use a straight mark. But if you're filling in a shape that is curved or has curves, you might want to be working using a circular pencil mark. And again, my hand is not getting tired. I'm letting the pencil and the weight of the pencil do the work for me. So I am holding the pencil towards the back as I shade so that I kind of let gravity help me do the work. I'm not pressing too hard. And if you notice, my whole arm is moving. I'm not going like this so much. I'm trying to rock my arm back and forth, which also helps relieve some of the pain you might have in your hand when you're drawing. I know sometimes you might get a cramp when you're writing, and that's because when you're writing, a lot of the writing is done in your fingertip, but when you're shading, the shading motion can come from your arm. So if your arm is feeling tired, that's okay. Your arm should also have a little bit more energy, a little bit more strength than just drawing from your fingertip. There was a bug just by the window and I could hear it buzzing. Kind of took my attention away from my drawing for a moment. All right, I'm going to keep shading. All right. All right, so now I finished shading all of this behind, and what I think I want to do to keep creating this variation on my tipple pattern. So in my other Zentangles that I've made, I've added this spiral pattern. This kind of looks like a tipple with a spiral pattern, and then it's been shaded in black behind. So what I think I'm going to do is on some of these circles, I'm going to start to add this spiraling line. So like I said, we're creating a variation of somebody else's pattern that somebody else created, and we want to be able to make this pattern feel like it's our own, it's something that we're excited to share. So I'm going to use my pencil to choose some places to add a spiral and I think what's going to make this pattern interesting is if the spiral goes behind on some of these and also is in the front. And I am kind of liking the way that the spiral looks just being added in pencil. So I don't think I'm going to trace this part. I think I'm going to leave the spirals in pencil because I'm liking the way that that looks. So this is the end of my variation for the Tipple pattern, and there's only one pattern left. So we've practiced drawing behind, and we're going to use drawing behind in this next pattern for Knightsbridge. So I'll see you in the next video.